What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video on channel ANDERZÉN. Today we're going to be doing an oil change and kind of an update on a few videos previous about kind of oil consumption and things of that nature on this car, because there are some good things that I want to report for you guys and a few tricks that I've added in that'll help you guys hopefully with your oil consumption or just oil longevity life throughout your oil change spans. So step number one, I got to get this thing jacked up. I'll show you guys what I have as far as oil supply goes. We're going to be switching it up today, trying something new, even though what I got last time actually worked quite well, which I'll tell you guys about here shortly. Alright, so for this change today, number one, a little bit of life hack for you guys. I don't like having to order filters online every single time, like the man filters and stuff, even though they're fantastic and it's what you should run. So I found out that MBWorld is producing these filters, and you can find them locally at your, O'Reilly's, AutoZone, etc. And they'll also price match to Walmart, which makes these around $11. Pretty good deal. We're going to take a look at how the one that is in here right now held up over the mileage that is covered. But I'm pretty confident, especially for me, I'm doing shorter intervals, that these things will hold up no problem. They're a pretty solid design. They don't have the cording wrapped around like you normally like to see, but the end caps are like a nice kind of like silicone-ish plastic that seem to hold up pretty well and not get that like flex or flimsiness that you get from the really cheap filters that you'll see without the banding on them. It also comes with a nice red O-ring for the oil cap or oil filter cap seal, and then all of your little O-rings for the rest of the oil filter cap stem. Alright, so just a nice little life hack. I wanted to show you guys that. MBWorld, it's not really my top pick for oil choice, but they're a good brand overall, and for something like this, I trust it. So that is it for that. Oil that we're going to be running today is a blend of VR1 synthetic 2050 and 1030. I'm basically going to run 4 quarts of 1030, 4 quarts of 1030 and 5 quarts of 2050. The actual capacity for C55 is like 8.5 quarts or whatever it is, but I run 9. There's no problem. The oil pan is gigantic in these, so you're not going to have a problem running 9 even or odd, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so I'll be running 4 of these, 5 of these, and just mix it into basically like a 15W40 or so, around that mark. It may be like a, I don't know, 1845 or something, but I have been running previously. Pop the hood and kind of take a look at engine bay while we're talking. I have been running in here right now actually Rotella T5 15W40. And if you guys know the Rotella oils, the T5 is actually a semi-synthetic. And the reason I chose to do that is because semi-synthetics sometimes, at least, word of mouth, can help with oil consumption and with kind of rejuvenating some seals. So I ran that, and I also mixed in some Liqui Moly oil saver, I think 2 bottles at the beginning of the change. And that stuff is like definitely worth trying out if you're having oil consumption issues. For those that don't know, this car with maybe 1,000 hard miles, it'll go through about half a quart. At one time it was. It's not anymore, thankfully, but it was at one point going through about half a quart in a hard driven 1,000 miles. And in a regular like 1,000 miles, 1,500 miles, 2,000 miles, just regular driving, maybe a quarter of a quart. But regardless of that, over the span of 3,000 miles, 5,000 miles, whatever you do your oil changes are at, that's more than I want to have to add in between oil changes. So for this, you kind of take your gripes where you can, because it's a performance engine and they are somewhat designed to consume oil, kind of keep things lubricated and working properly, but you don't want it to become excessive. So that's what I really was trying to negate before it became more than it should be. And I was already kind of at that limit. So it's been doing really good on the T5. I can show you guys. Actually, it's been sitting probably long enough for this to be accurate. I do have a dipstick if you guys want to add one of these to your car. I have a video on this mod, but there you go. Actually, hopefully you can see that. Put this in the light. Right there, you can see, hopefully it is literally perfect on the mark. And over the span of, it's probably been at least a few thousand miles, and to be honest, this car doesn't get driven unless it's like taken out and driven hard. So that's, you know, 2,000 or 3,000 miles that have been hard miles of having fun and spirited driving, and it's only consumed in that time, I don't even think half a quart. I used like a little bit, whatever was left after I had the big Rotella T5 jug. I used like a tiny bit of it as some makeup oil in between. But like I said, that's a lot less than before, and it's still very clean, as you guys can see. I don't even know, I probably don't even need to change this right now, to be honest, but I'm just kind of getting in the habit of changing it, you know, every season or so, and or every couple seasons, I guess. I think I changed this last time around January. So it's, yeah, October now. I'm just gonna do it now, and that way it'll be good throughout this year, and then I'll change it again come summertime probably. But yeah, it's done really well. Nobody would recommend running a Rotella T5 and M113. People are terrified for whatever reason to experiment with oils, understandably, if you're trying to get like crazy, but just pay attention to your climate, pay attention to what's the lowest temperatures that you start up the car in, what's the highest temperatures that your car sees, and then, you know, calculate off of the viscosity ranges of your oils to see what you could run. And there's actually a chart. I'll try to pop it up on screen. People don't really pay attention to this for the M113, M112. Mercedes has a chart, and even though there's not really oils on there that are marked as approved for the MB 229.5 spec, they're still marked as okay based on like the temperature ranges, like the viscosity ranges are approved okay. So like a 15W40 is not going to be approved for this car per se, but you can still run it if you're in the right temperatures, and it, you know, is a closely whatever you want to call it, close chemistry oil, or a synthetic, or even in my case semi-synthetic. So yeah, anyways, every time I make an oil video, I could nerd out about this stuff forever and ever, but the point of this video is really to just show you guys that it has worked. It's actually worked really well, and it's a good substitute. It's a cheap alternative too. Rotella T5 can be found for like pretty cheap compared to other oils, and it's really good stuff. Either the T6 or the T5, to be honest. When I was buying it, that was when like oil was just impossible to find on the shelves, and I was waiting forever and ever to try to find either T6 or T5. I couldn't find the T6, so I just eventually decided to run the T5, and happy I did, because it's a cheaper option by a little bit compared to T6, and it's worked great. So I'm going to drain it out of here. We'll see what it looks like, and I'm very curious to see how this Mobil One filter has held up. All right, guys, wanted to give you a view of underneath, see how things are doing. Thankfully, it looks for the most part pretty dry while the pans are on. This is my least favorite part about changing the oil on the C55, is getting all the belly pan bolts off. As much as it's not that big of a hassle, it is just kind of a little inconvenience. But to refresh your guys' memory, I believe these are 10 millimeters, and there's one here, couple back here, and then same thing on these sides. And then you have to get the separate piece off in the back, and mine is annoying because one of these is like stripped, or somebody did back in the day, so I have to basically just like move it off to the side. All right, here's the oil filter. Definitely got collapsed a little bit. Let's take a look at it. Take a look. Okay. I mean, it definitely collapsed a tiny bit, Not crazy, but probably more than you'd want to see. Doesn't happen if you have the bindings on it like we talked about. But it looks clean. Looks like it's done its job. So I won't be reusing it, but like I said, if you need something in a pinch or you just want to find something local, you don't have to worry about grabbing a filter online every single time. It's a pretty decent option. All right, the O-rings all look pretty good. Probably could have left the black ones on, to be honest. The red one, I guess, is like coated with something because it's black underneath and all this is rubbing off. Not going to affect much, but yeah, the seal still feels good. Just don't know what they put on there. Maybe like a silicone coating or something. But anyways, moving on. Put all the seals on here and then leave this out while I drain the oil. Makes it drain a little faster and easier and try to get everything out. So yeah, we'll be back. Okay, that is all done up. Make sure you hear the nice click or snap when you put the oil filter all the way down. All right, now that that's done, go ahead and drain this thing out. All right, let's get under here. Drain plugs are 13 millimeters if I remember correctly. Whew. It's hot. Why is there a leaf blower out there? Give you guys a closer view. Nothing too special. Oil coming out. It's hard to tell the color right now because we're kind of in the shadows, but take a look at it once we get it out. Looks pretty black. Typical though. Nothing crazy. Yeah, I'll show you guys in a second once it's done. Alright guys, oil is still draining, but one other thing to mention, I told you guys last time, I grabbed these aluminum washers. These are actually designated for like Acura Integras, I think from like B18 motors, but they fit perfect on the C55 drain plugs, and I've been using them for 3 or 4 oil changes now. I used them on the ML63 and the ML55, so yeah, they're a pretty good washer. Got them off Amazon, big bulk pack for super cheap. Nothing wrong with the aluminum over copper, so either one works. And yeah, I've been using these for a while, so just one other key little trick for you guys. Alright guys, we got one drain plug back in the back. Just letting the front pan or front sump drain right now. There's usually not much left over in that one, to be honest, but it's always good to drain it out. You always should. But the majority is going to come from the back sump over there. So it looks like it's just about done. So I'll close that one off and then keep going. Alright guys, so that is it for underneath as far as drain bolts go. I did notice a little bit of kind of seepage down here, and it's from my breather cover on the driver's side. That has been leaking pretty much since we did it. The passenger side sealed well, but these breather covers can be kind of notoriously a pain for getting them to seal properly. I just actually heard from our C55 group chat today that the dealer actually recommends letting them cure for like 24 hours before driving the car, which I think is kind of crazy, but maybe it's something I'll try next time I do it. I'll just do those in the driveway at my house. I need to do the one on the ML55 as well, same thing on the driver's side. But yeah, that's it for down here besides putting the belly pans back on. Here is the oil. Try to see what you guys can see. It's a little dirty, but still feels pretty good. But you know, one of those things, it's a cheap maintenance item, so I just try to change it more often than not. I don't really care, to be honest. Even if it's only half a year or a year, doesn't make a difference. It's cheap maintenance to kind of ensure that the car is running cleanly. So got the new filter situated. Slide this down and then we'll fill it up and go from there. Alright guys, now comes the fun part of mixing up all these jugs of oil. Remember, I'm OCD about this, but always shake up your oil jugs so that all the sediment and things from the different chemicals in them and additives are not sitting down at the bottom and you miss out on them. So shake them up good and then pour them all in. I guess I'll time lapse you guys while I'm pouring in 9 quarts. Alright guys, we just got all the oil in. Camera on the GoPro, or I mean battery on the GoPro is about to die, so I'll probably switch over to my phone in a second, but we can go ahead and take a look at the dipstick real quick and just see what it's reading at, even though it's not going to be the most accurate. Yeah, so a little bit over the high mark, which is fine because it's leaning backwards right now, so it's kind of where I expected it to be. So we'll let it run for a little bit, make sure there's no leaks, and then I'll update you guys after that. One cool thing to note is, if you guys didn't know, the synthetic VR1 is actually blue. It has like a dark blue tint to it, so kind of cool. All right guys, time travel for the oil change video. Just finished adjusting the ride height in the front actually. Let's do our first startup with our VR1. Oh yeah, let it cycle. And then we'll check for leaks and everything after it gets done. Don't mind that. Smooth. I like it. Sounded good. All right, let's go here to the engine bay. Alright guys, I'll let this idle for a little bit and then we'll check the level and I'll be heading out after that. Alright guys, that'll go ahead and do it. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Tell me what you see. Am I something that you want, or am I something that you need?